Hey, Crystal, welcome back.
Man, I know it's been so long. I'm happy to be here.
I know, where have you been? I mean, you've been
Just
busy.
like doing marketing stuff.
Yeah, I know that keeps you busy,
We
Awesome.
got lots of things happening.
Yeah, we got an exciting show today. Lots of things happening in the QuestionPro universe as well. So,
True.
and we'll have some announcements. We have Stephen Kraus coming on,
Ooh, I
recently
love that.
appointed executive director at MRII. So that'll be exciting. And we
Fun.
have some interesting data points actually that we ran. So stay tuned for that at the end of the show.
Ooh, that's exciting. I hope
I
you're not
know.
I hope you're not using all those random ones I ran the other day.
No, we'll save those for another time. So, yeah.
If you ever wonder what we do in our free time, people of Live with Dan, we run polls for fun.
That's what we do. Just interesting questions, random things. It's fun. It's a fun channel to, be a part of on Slack.
So what are some of our announcements?
I know one thing that I've been focusing on lately is the Insights Hub and the webinar coming up at the end of June. So
yes,
that's June
on
30th.
June 30th.
Yep. And that will be with Vivek Bhaskaran and myself. So we'll be unveiling Insights Hub, which is our new product that helps deal with knowledge management and also workflows and things like that. So definitely check that out. Super interesting, brand new product, really a need in the space. So I think we'll drop that link in the comments, maybe if we have it.
I'm literally finding it right now.
Okay.
When we have so much going on with Insights Hub, so make sure that you just keep an eye out for everything. I know we have a white paper in the works. We're going to have a demo video. We're going to be doing at least one webinar on it, maybe two, because making sure we democratize those insights, Dan. It's more about like the movement of research in the world and less about the product.
That's true. I know you're trying to start a movement around this too, so let's do it.
I know. I'm a real proponent of open source data or decentralized data. And I remember the first time I was here and I was like we were talking about GitHub with the developers and they were like, no, those are closed libraries, Crystal. And I was like, oh, I'm very used to open source things.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. But I mean, you talk to a lot of organizations and like knowledge management, there's still a lot of tribal knowledge, I think, in a lot of these companies and where to go for different insights and studies. It's definitely a thing that it's a problem, I would say. And that's something that we're aiming to solve with Insights Hub. So the democratization, there we go.
There's such a long word.
I know. It's a long word, but so that's happening. And I know we rebooted Work at Life, right? It's a podcast now.
Yeah.
So that's happening too.
It's
Super
a podcast you can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Anchor, on Stitcher, on literally anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Wherever you listen to your podcast, it'll be there. So,
and I am going to drop the Apple link in shortly. And it's just, they've been focusing on the female recession and because there is such a not lack of data, I would say, because women who left the workforce aren't necessarily claiming unemployment either. They just literally stopped working. And so we're really looking at a loss of almost, I think they put a dollar amount on it in the Wall Street Journal. I'd have to look it up. And it was in the hundreds of thousands, maybe, billions of revenue lost and, economic growth for women in their climb up the corporate.
Yeah, I know. And she's been talking a lot about that, kind of championing it really. So that is, go listen to the Work at Life podcast. Crystal will put the link there.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesdays, we're still doing CX forums, right? Ken Peterson's doing that.
So, with our friend Mark Michelson.
Yep.
And you heard it here first. Fun fact. I don't think you even know this.
I don't. Probably
we're actually helping host the CX forums in Austin, December 14th. In person, out at the One World Theater on Bee Cave. And so it's going to be a really cool opportunity for just like a really small segment of CX thought leaders to come together in Austin and Texas.
Nice. And that's December 14th?
December 14th. I know it's so far away.
I know.
It seems very far away now, but trust me, it's not.
It's not. I know. In this world and day and age, it's not that far away. So that'll be cool. I'll probably go. I'll check it out. That'll be fun.
Probably will go.
It's right there, so I might as well do it. So awesome. That's great. And then I know there's some other things too, I'm sure, that are happening, but there's a lot going on. So
Yes.
if you want content, you want insights, definitely we're providing that to you in a number of different ways on the CX, workforce, and of course the research side with Live with Dan and other webinars and things that we're doing. So yeah.
So good.
Awesome. Well, how about we bring in the man of the hour here?
Yeah.
Hey, Stephen Kraus, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Dan, Crystal, how you guys doing?
I'm doing awesome. Doing well.
I'm ready to party Austin December 14th. Let's do it.
I
come on down.
know.
Yeah, you're invited. Let's go. We got to get you here.
I'm probably going to hit Austin this summer. University of Texas at Austin is number one on my son's list of potential schools he wants to go to.
Oh, yeah, you should do that for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're ready to get out and do the big road trip and get some good barbecue and check out Austin. So
Yes.
Yeah, we can't go wrong there. Barbecue, live music, and good times,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm ready to go to college with him. So bring it on.
I'm sure he's I'm sure he'd love to hear that. Thanks.
Awesome.
That's pretty funny.
Great. Well, Stephen, earlier on LinkedIn, I posted that when you're on the show, there's always two things that are guaranteed to happen. I'll learn something new, and there'll be some laughs. So I think we accomplished the laughs already. So now
all right.
I'm ready to learn something new,
Okay. Well, good deal. Well, let's talk about our topic for the day, education and training in market research and insights field. And it's easy for me to think about from a personal level because I have none. I have I never took a formal course, whether in college or elsewhere. My background was in social psychology and the social sciences.
Right.
And in some ways, that was really relevant because what you learn in the social sciences is, how do you, formulate a problem, develop a hypothesis? How do you figure out how to measure those things and operationalize those things and then collect data and analyze data and then use that data to go back and try to answer your original question. So that whole process of science is what happens in market research. But I've never actually taken a formal course or formal kind of training. How about you, Dan? Have you taken formal coursework?
There's a little bit of a preface to this. So in college, I got a degree in marketing. I remember taking one research type class. It wasn't super in depth. And then I kind of got an internship at a research firm in the Seattle area. And, the rest is history, I guess, as they say. But I have the only course that I have taken is the University of Georgia Principles of Marketing Research course, which of course, But that was after the fact. That was after I stumbled into research. I think pretty commonly you don't hear a lot of people, at least in the States. I know we were talking about this recently too. You don't hear a lot of people in the States setting out for a career in market research world, right? Not as much as you do overseas and in Europe and so forth. I know you brought this up to me, Stephen. It's actually a really good point. So maybe elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, we've learned something, so we can just call it quits.
There we go. We've got laughs and we've learned something, so that's good.
But you're absolutely right. I think most people in the research and insights business here in the States, like me, like you, just sort of stumbled into the field. Whereas overseas, it's kind of a different process, and it's much more common in other countries for people to intentionally go into the research and insights field, and so they then may take formal coursework in college, or then early in their career they may take some formal classes, like you mentioned, the Principles of Market Research, which is kind of a joint effort between MRII, where I am, and the University of Georgia, who also has a very famous Masters of Market Research program. And there are other kinds of courses out there like that. So it's an interesting distinction between the U.S. and international in that way.
Right.
At least Dan. I was going to say at least Dan remembers taking his. I also got a degree in marketing. Took a market research course. Found the book maybe a month ago, and was like, Dan, I did this.
Well, and it's interesting when you look at a lot of textbooks. What they cover is so abstract that it's stuff you would never actually face in real life. A lot of them talk. Well, let's talk about the different kinds of scales and ordinal scales and ratio scales and stuff like that. And It's just sort of such abstract statistical stuff. It's not the stuff you would really encounter in real research.
It's true. It's true.
Isn't that all of college?
What's funny is in college you're like, write an 8 to 10 page paper, and like, okay, you do that, and then you get to work, the work life, and it's, hey, give me these insights as fast as possible. I don't have time to read a 10-page paper, so it's kind of interesting that they train you for that, yet the reality is something different. So that's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah. And I think so much of the training and education that happens in market research is you just learn it on the job.
Yep.
Well, how about at QuestionPro, when you bring in new people? I know you've got kind of a certification program. Do you have formal training and education?
Yeah. So when we bring in new people, we have a training, I would say a training program designed for QuestionPro and market research in general. I think largely what we've been doing lately is trying to find people that already have some of that research experience, because it makes life so much easier, I think, and just as long as they have a good knowledge. So I think, Crystal now has this great knowledge of research. So she's been able to build that up, but that's something that we look for. And then of course, they can do trainings and things if there's areas of specialties that they want to get into. We also have a learning budget that we give people. So if they want to go learn something new, they can do that. It's not necessarily just for research. Of course, that's something that can be used for. I know others are using it for like calligraphy lessons or guitar lessons or master's classes, but that's part of it. And then I think trying to get people that have, at least a baseline knowledge of research is something that's interesting. So we don't have to do a ton of training, but we've developed some in-house courses that obviously take them through QuestionPro, and then by proxy, they learn some of the different research certifications. But I know when I first got started and I took some classes from the University of Georgia and an MRII, it gave me a great baseline knowledge, even though I was in the field. I think, like you said, Stephen, there's so much of it is like learning on the job, but it's good to have this like baseline knowledge. So at least you somewhat know what you're talking about. So you're not always, kind of faking it till you make it, so to speak. But
yeah,
and I think that's where like the MRII and what you guys are doing, and also other associations, I think really, really help out in this space.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about at MRII is we call it, the MRC-BOK, the Market Research Core Body of Knowledge, where we've tried to take the whole field and systematize all of the things that you would want to learn if you were going to be a professional in the field. And it's useful for individuals. It's also really useful for, say, global research corporations that want to level set everybody in the company around the world about, here are the skills, here's how we think about qual and quant and new data collection, all of that.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wish companies would do that for literally every department.
It's especially for these big global companies, a lot of which grow by merger and acquisition. And so they grow by, buying, the local research firms here and there. How do they put them all on the same page and create some global organization and systems is really important.
Right. And I think that there are some, with MRII, and then there's some other the associations I should say, like CASR, or it used to be CASR or MRA, now it's Insights Association, SMR, and so forth. I think all of these, and of course APOR as well, like help with creating at least some set of standards. I know, when we kind of talked about like, why don't people want to get certified in market research? And I think there's interesting, if you look at, if you're a project manager, right, in other fields, like you're going to get the project management professional certification, or these other like you say, if you're a developer, then you'll get certified on that. But what do you have an idea, like what do you see as like the sort of the barrier to the certification? Is it education, awareness? Do we need to just come together and say this is the standard, or what are some of your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think part of it is just there's not enough awareness in the field that there are certifications. Like you were saying, there are some fields where if you're in project management, well, you know what, every employer is going to look for that certification.
Right.
Or if you're an analyst and you want to really demonstrate on your resume that you're an expert in R or Python, those kinds of certifications are really common and kind of expected on the resume.
Yeah.
And I think in market research, especially here in the States, because so many people sort of stumble into the field, there's not as much awareness and as much striving for those kinds of certifications.
Yeah,
it's a little bit different in some of the other countries. If you go to the UK, they have kind of a strong certification culture over there, you might say, in market research.
Right.
But it's a little different here. And also just, as you mentioned, associations were historically an important way for people to get education and get engaged in the field. Mm-hmm. And, they've struggled a little bit, as you mentioned. You can look at the Insights Association, which was created as a result of a merger. Part of that is also the changes going on in market research. It's not so much just survey research; it's gotten so much broader now. Mm-hmm. So the industry is kind of still figuring that out. I also think there might be kind of a generational difference when it comes to associations. That younger people in the field may just not resonate as much to the notion of associations.
Right. That's interesting.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Has that been your experience as well, Crystal?
I mean, it's more because why pay money to an organization where I have to do X, Y, and Z when I literally could probably just Google it. And that is it's the access to information. So
that's a good point.
Access to information is so much more at our fingertips, or at least in our brains, it's at our fingertips, because that's the way our whole, those Google Analytics, I have, Google Analytics certifications, marketing certifications. They're all things that I just found online from trusted sources. Yeah. And we're able to execute at my own time, at my own pace, and relatively at low cost.
True. Yeah, I think it's a little bit, that's definitely that, the access to information. Mm-hmm. But I would think that's a little bit of a trap, because you may not be getting the full gamut or everything that you need, right? So
and then you don't have consistency, like what Stephen's saying.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I even have to, be careful of that when we're hiring for marketing. It's okay, well, you say you can do all these things and you have these certifications, but have you actually done them? What were the outcomes? And you have to dig into it a lot more, because it's kind of that DIY certification. But, and that's where I think probably the younger generations of market researchers who are probably getting into it because they have a use case or they have a need, not because they're interested in market research.
Right. That makes sense. I know when I look at resumes, and if I see that people have taken coursework in market research, or they've taken some certifications from MRII or other places, it definitely draws me to that, because it helps reduce the risk that if I'm hiring someone, the risk is lower. At least I know they have at least some good baseline knowledge. Whereas even someone that has worked somewhere for a year, I don't know. I mean, they could have managed projects and done these things, but you don't know how good that was. So at least it helps reduce the risk there, at least in my mind.
Yeah, and it shows that there's someone who is going to put that effort into their career to learn and get educated in kind of this formal way. And I think that's another part of kind of the risk reduction that comes along when you're hiring. Not only have they taken the course and they've shown that they've mastered those skills, but they actually cared enough to do it and to put that level of effort into their own professional growth.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I think that's an interesting point. And then what about in students, Stephen? Do you see students getting certified? Do you see any trends there? I know we talked about that younger people are kind of a little bit resistant to associations, but I think there's still some segment that do want to get certified, right? And that
is your course on TikTok?
Yeah, that's right.
I've actually thought about doing some MRII TikToks, because I do, I've got a teenage son, so I see way more TikToks than anyone really should. So
Stephen, you got to admit when he says "Hey, Dad, do you want to see this TikTok?" and you say, "No, I don't want to see it," and then he shows it to you anyway, you probably laugh, right? So.
TikTok is addictive, I have to say, and I've been working on my dance moves, so it'll be like a combination market research dance TikTok channel that
all right.
I'm sure all the kids will be into.
One of a kind, Stephen. That's it. You gotta find those unique content hooks, man.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to brag, but it's going to be so good. It could be career ending for me. That's how good it could be.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
But you mentioned a lot, early career professionals and students, they may not resonate to the notion of associations. I think even historically associations have been a little bit more catered toward more advanced career professionals. But I think also there's just kind of the generational differences now of, younger people being a little bit more individualistic, a little bit more DIY with getting their own skills. So they may not resonate so much to associations,
Right.
but young people do resonate to the idea of getting a job. And so there are so many people, like me, when I was a student, I came out with a degree in social psychology, and all I knew was academics and teaching. And everybody in my family had been a teacher. I used to joke that I was 16 before I realized most people had to work in the summer. But I didn't know anything about this world of market research. And I didn't really understand, my skills could translate really well. And I think that a lot of students coming out of today with degrees, graduate or undergraduate, in psychology or the social sciences, graduate and they're like, well, now what do I do? I don't really have any formal business training. What do I do with my skills? So we actually find on our website, MRII.org, where people can learn about these kinds of courses, that every year traffic to our website peaks in April and May. That's when students are graduating. They're like, what am I going to do? I've got some research skills. How do I apply them? How do I get a job? So, we, at MRII, we do a lot of, training and core research skills, but we're actually looking to also really beef up our content in professional development and helping these students understand, how can they get into this field? How can they grow their careers? And I think that's very much resonating with students who kind of have that, self-sufficient, how do I improve my career, improve my skills kind of
right.
Because I think a real misconstrued idea is that, yes, younger generations are more, individualistic, but that they still find value in mentorship. And I think that is where organizations have really not maybe, it's like, oh, we'll pay for this class. But then it's like, if you get through the class and you still don't understand it, you don't have anyone with you in that org to kind of like mentor you through it. And so that's, I think, kind of where the gap is like, yes, we may not want to be in an in a club, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to like walk side by side with somebody, or at least have people there to like support your career, aspirations.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, whether it's mentorship or just helping people network. I mean, there have been a lot of studies about how people get jobs, and by and large, people get jobs through connections.
Yep.
And, I've seen that with the students that I teach at University of San Francisco, or, graduate students. And I always tell them, when you start to apply for internships and start to apply for jobs, you can send your resume into the website, and you'll be one of hundreds of resumes going in. And the first cut is going to be, they're going to run that resume through an applicant tracking system. So the bots will be the first one to see your resume. And then if a person sees it, you're lucky if they're going to get 30 seconds on it.
Right.
So, the connections you make, the mentoring, and I've tried to and I've been somewhat successful in getting my students jobs. And so I'll reach out to, previous colleagues. Hey, I've got these great students, these would be great for an internship. And my colleagues are so happy to hear that, because they're like, I got 150 resumes. Just tell me who I should hire, narrow it down to 3, and that kind of mentorship and career development. I think that's maybe more the future of associations and the benefit of these kinds of certifications. Yeah,
no, and there's no doubt about that. I mean, if someone could just say, hey, I got this person, they're good, and, you can vouch for them, that would save me so much time, and it'd be, it'd be great, actually.
Literally, as somebody who was looking through resumes yesterday, I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How many resumes do you get for a marketing job, Crystal?
I'm sitting on 180 right now, and I've had the job open 10 days.
Wow, 180.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And there's a lot of talk now with things opening up post-vaccine that there's going to be a lot of job switching, because people who've had jobs over the last year have been hunkered down and are risk averse and didn't want to take a chance, and now things are going to open up. So it's not only students coming out, there's going to be more, job switching going on. And that's going to put another premium on the kind of mentorship and connections that you were talking about.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think that brings me to actually a good segue into my next kind of question for you, Stephen, is, with the pandemic, I think qualitative research, especially online qualitative, pushed a lot of people into that, right? Whether they wanted to or not, some kicking and screaming, some, yeah, I want to try it out. I'm happy to do it, right? So does MRII have specific courses for different avenues, or is it one size fits all? How does that work?
Yeah, so the core of what we offer is 13 individual courses, and you could take any one of those courses individually, or you could do what you did, which is basically take them all, which is what we call our Principles of Market Research class. So each of these 13 classes might be 8 to 12 hours of content. It's all online, it's videos, it's from industry experts. So it's great stuff. I think, one of the lasting effects of the pandemic is going to be that, so many people view the world in a global way that they didn't before. If you think about conferences, it used to be, it's going to be in the specific place. So, we've got to, find out how do we get people to go to that place. Yeah. And now, so many conferences have a global perspective. And I think it's the same kind of thing with education. We've gotten a lot of interest from countries all around the world. But just to have kind of that sort of really solid, industry expertise in the form of these online courses is something that's really, it's shown a lot of growth. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. I like that. And the fact that you can either do a la carte or you can do the full meal deal, so to speak, I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, I think we might actually change our Principles of Market Research course to be the full meal deal.
Hey,
because I like that. But yeah, you can go in. You could just take a course on qualitative or survey research design, or we've got a collection of analytics courses, and you can also sort of buy a mini bundle, so it'd be like the mini meal deal. We've got a collection of analytics courses, and you can buy a bundle of 3 of those. We call it Analytics 1, 2, 3. So for people who just want to specialize in that. And actually, if you look at, and then we partner with many of the industry associations out there. So like the Insights Associations that offers different levels of certification. Right. You can take our classes as part of your work toward those certifications. And again, they have different ones. They have qualitative, they have an analytics one, in addition to kind of their full meal deal, which is they call it IPC, Insights Professional Certification.
You're going to start saying that, Stephen. The full meal deal.
The full meal deal.
I knew my marketing degree would pay off at some point.
Guys, we don't need more dad jokes in the world.
You want to? I can tell you a dad joke if you want to hear one.
Oh, let's hear it.
Do you know when does a joke become a dad joke?
When
it becomes apparent.
Ooh. Wow.
You make my life very difficult.
That's a dad joke to the extreme.
I know, right? So I told you. I think
I'm gonna have to lead with that on my TikTok channel.
I recommend doing the opposite of that, Stephen.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's
right. Anything else, Stephen, that we should cover today? I know we talked a lot about the certifications, the courses. I think it's super interesting. Go MRII.org. That's the best way to kind of check out what you guys offer and what you guys are doing. Yeah,
definitely. And folks can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to talk with folks more. If you're interested in training and education and market research, a lot of people buy the courses individually for themselves, but we also work with a lot of people who run smaller companies who want to put their whole company through the trainings. And then we work with a lot of the big multinational research firms. We might work with the people in HR or training to bring in training programs for a whole division of people. So it's great stuff.
Awesome. Perfect. Hey, Stephen, thanks for coming on the show. Always a pleasure. We had laughs and we learned something new. So
every time.
Perfect. Check those two out.
I always enjoy it. I'm looking forward to coming back after the government releases its UFO report.
Hey, you're going to be on. Yeah, you're going to have to come back on for sure.
Okay, definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
We'll talk to you then.
Bye, Stephen.
Have a great one.
Thanks, Stephen.
Take care, guys.
All right. Good stuff. Oops.
Oh. Stephen's
I
not
guess he's
going.
back. He didn't want to go. There we go.
There we go. I think we pushed the button at the same time.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Oh,
Well,
so good.
Really, really good. Let's go over a few data points, and then we can get back to our day here. But I wanted to. There's some interesting data points that we have that actually Tim put this together using, I believe, one of our panels that we have, and wanted to go over this. So this is all about different things going on in the world today in the news. So this question was, according to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, employers can require employees to be vaccinated. Do you agree with this? I mean, overwhelming 74% said yes. So I think that's kind of interesting to me that it was that high. I don't know. What do you think, Crystal? Do you think it should be that employers can require this?
I mean, I would say it also depends on your job. I mean, like if you're working in an office like us and you can be distributed and you can get just as much done in person, then maybe not. But if you're a frontline worker, if you're working in a hospital, if you're working with high risk individuals, or if you just don't want to risk your weight or your staff coming down ill and then being short staffed. I mean, this is a complicated issue that I frankly don't necessarily have probably a strong opinion on.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is if it's a stance of, hey, come back to the office, we want you to be vaccinated at that point. That might be the only thing I kind of agree with the 75%.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, and I feel definitely feel more comfortable when I'm out at a restaurant and I feel so bad. I'm vaccinated. I really hope you are. I'm just, I don't want to be the person that kills the old lady.
I know. That's true. That's true. All right. Well, jumping into more fun here. So the U.S. inflation rate jumps to 5%, highest since 2008. Are you concerned? So overwhelming majority here, almost 80%, say that they're concerned. I think we all should be a little bit concerned here, but kind of interesting point there that it was that high, I thought.
Yeah, that is Eric, our COO, and I were just talking about inflation yesterday on our one-on-one.
I know it's something you never really would talk about, but it's there. Typically it's around 4% year over year, and now 5%. That's a pretty big change.
That is.
So did you experience the massive internet outage? Were you affected by it on Tuesday that occurred? So I guess 49-minute internet outage. So Twitch, Pinterest, HBO, Amazon, Target, Spotify were down for some period. So
what time during the day?
I don't know what time it was.
Okay.
But it was for 49 minutes, so a pretty significant amount of time. So
yeah, and it was a CDN issue. It wasn't actually an AWS issue. I saw it on Twitter.
I did read about it. Yeah, I don't think I experienced it, but
no, we were probably working and being responsible.
Of course, that's what we always
not
do.
Online shopping.
Yeah, I know, these are if this was during the middle of the day, you're definitely not doing what you're supposed to. If you're working, I guess. So 50-50 here, so that's kind of interesting. This one is, do you wear a mask in public? So 81% of people still wear a mask in public. Maybe some of it's mandated, maybe some of it's not. I know what's interesting is I'm, fully vaccinated, and even when I go to Costco, I still tend to put on the mask. I think it's interesting. It's like habit at this point, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, it doesn't really bother me to wear it for an hour or two. And if it's what you got to do, it's what you got to do,
And it depends on where you're at in the country. I was out in Oregon for Memorial Day weekend, and they were still at 25% capacity because everything's so indoors there, just because it rains all the time. Yeah. And so I definitely think it depends on where you are. But in this, here in Texas, I was out to dinner last night. None of the wait staff had their mask on, and we were just living our best lives. That's relaxed.
I know it really depends on where you're at, I think, right? So
that's interesting though. Oh no, this is a sad question.
When returning back to school after Zoom school, I like the term Zoom school. That's pretty interesting. Do you feel children feel like they were left behind, or do you feel your children were left behind?
Yeah.
So yes, 45% said this. Of course, 30% didn't have children, and then no. So
that does happen.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, I know you have kids in middle school.
Yeah, they were in 2nd and 6th grade last year, so moving up to 3rd and 7th grade. But they did virtual school all year, and I don't know if they were left behind, but definitely I think it had more of an effect on my younger daughter than my older daughter, I think. And it was kind of, I feel like given the curriculum and things, I felt like they needed more of that interaction with other students and teachers. But I don't know that they're left behind. I think
it's going to be, frankly, this is like such a market research thing to say. It's going to be interesting to study this over the next, from this generation of kids as they graduate and seeing how they score, how they place in college, and how they move forward. It's going to be a fascinating, like 10-year study, frankly.
It will. This is, you buckle up for the long haul here, because it's going to be interesting. Yeah. It'll be super interesting. Like the Zoom years, maybe
there's like some market researcher somewhere that's like, oh, I got my project for the next 10 years.
No, there's definitely funding and everything going after this. So it's interesting. So would you like to know if someone is vaccinated so you can, know how to deal with those interactions, like handshakes, please stay 6 feet back, hugs, So I think it would be nice to know somehow, but I don't know how you do it without being overly weird.
or at some point it is with the access to the vaccines, is it the people who don't get vaccinated? Is it their own risk? Like, are they entering the world at their own risk? And is that risk on you or on them? And that's really more of you should have these sprinkle in these complicated questions.
I know this is all Tim though. Tim has the knack for these interesting questions. So. Yeah.
But the data shows that people would like to know, but there is kind of a weird, I would say, connotation around just not, being able to just you don't want to treat people differently, technically.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It's interesting debate, interesting discussion for sure. Of so
a little heavy for a spring, like a summer life with Dan.
I know, a little heavy for a Friday, but hey, that's what we do here. We give you the data. You can formulate your own opinions about it.
We just give you a little sprinkle in.
There we go. Awesome. Well, Crystal, hey, thanks so much for joining me today. It was fun. It's a good time.
And it was. What are we talking about next week? Do we know yet?
Next week is a little bit up in the air. I got a couple different options. So stay tuned for early next week, and you'll know more about what's coming up.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.